Okay, warning, graphic content, I agree. What it is what it is. That is a creature that is decaying, and that is the way that life happens. And you notice all around this creature is this debris that is emitting from him and oozing into the ground. The larger the creature, the more blood and so forth, the effluent that would come away. The longer it lasted on the surface, the more it would wash and create an outline of that creature, and I'll show you that. Alright, I'm going to show you what I'm saying is a creature, and I just showed you that rotting, coyote or whatever, dog, and this is the same pattern that would create if this was a living creature and it eroded away. So let's go in a little deeper and we'll take a look at if that is a creature or not. Alright, that's a traditional Chinese dragon. I mean, that's just what they are. So you can notice that they have that scruffy little stuff under the jaw, big wide jaw here, and of course the stuff is coming out of his mouth of all the effluent. And, then they have that little fluty looking stuff going down the body, long and the scales all over, and that's what I'm finding on the dragon that I see in the desert in Morocco. He might have wings, I don't know, but it's hard to make out that detail in the desert, but he has all the flutes, all of the identical architecture. Alright, I want to point out something to you. I am saying this is a dragon, and I have the entire dragon I can show you in a minute, but that is the effluent that washes away from the carcass, just like I showed you on the dog. This is where the throat comes up. It comes across with those little things that they hang off them. It has all these little fluty things that go down the body. The eye is up here. And look, this is all the effluent that's coming out of his throat. And that is some nasty looking stuff. I mean, it's a dragon. What can I say? Now let's look in deep at that nasty looking stuff coming directly out of his mouth. And I will show you the actual flesh of his mouth is right here. That's the whole thing of his mouth is right there, and then his head goes back up this way. You can't see that. All right, the neck goes down this way, and his eye is up in this area. That's just what it is. It's the way a dragon's made. I don't know what to say. And that is the nasty, nasty stuff. Look, check this out when you get really deep in there. Let me drill down into here. Let me back out of here. Let's drill down and see what's coming out of this guy's mouth. Okay, so here we are. There's his mouth right there. Can we see that? Let's see. Yeah, right there. All right, now, let's drill down into this guy's mouth and see what actually is there. All right, there it is. Now look at the stuff that's coming out of there. That is nasty looking stuff. It's not your everyday stuff, you know what I mean? Look at that. Now that's what's coming out of his mouth. Now I didn't put it there. And it is totally different than the other stuff that is around it. And it's coming out of his mouth, which is a jaw, which has all the little fluty things hanging off it, which has the little scuffy things going down the side, which has a throat going down, a very long body, and a tail, and wings, and everything that a dragon has. And I will show you that in a minute, but I want to show you something else before that. Alright, I don't want to bore you with this thing because there's a lot of details here, but I'll show you the most important ones. But anyway, there's his mouth spitting all that stuff out that I showed you before, and there's the neck going all the way down, 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 down. And I can show you where his stomach is and everything. It goes right into his stomach. Here's the legs. Here's the tail that go all the way down, and then the flutes run off here, and they're so exactly articulated, it's incredible. The whole body is articulated with scales of a dragon. Now, where I want to point out is this little flag right here, because there's special importance about that. Now, before we do that, I want to read you something that is in the Bible, which, to me, is a historical document. Alright, I'm just going to read this. You can read it yourself, but I'll read it to you. The Woman and the Dragon. This is Revelations 12. A great sign appeared in heaven. A woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its heads. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth, so that it might devour her child the moment he was born. She gave birth to a son, a male child who will rule all the nations with an iron scepter. And her child was snatched up to God and to his throne. The woman fled into the wilderness to a place prepared for her by God, where she might be taken care of for 1260 days. Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven, which is the dragon. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. Then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, "Now have come the salvation and power and kingdom of God and the authority of his Messiah." Well, apparently that's God's Son going to be coming. For the accusers of our brothers and sisters who accuse them before our God day and night has been hurled down. And then it goes on, and then there's a huge battles in heaven and so forth. Now, let's talk about the effect of that. Now, you've seen the dragon, and I'll show you the rest of it. It's very, very, it's just can't be denied, actually. Now, when she says she was standing on the moon, pregnant and about to give birth, I'm saying that's a fact. Now, she gave birth on the moon to a male child, which was the Son of God. And the Son of God was born in space, called the Son of God. Now, when he was born again, Jesus on earth, he was then now the Son of Man. So he now is the Son of God and the Son of Man. Now, the historical dating is hard to explain that it's not true. He was born in space, and they talk about the birth of Venus right around the time of Exodus. And at the time of Exodus, and that's a fact, that's an absolute fact. Velikovsky did the research on that. And you look it up, Worlds in Collision. He went and he looked at the papyruses, he went to the museums, he didn't do a blog. This was in the 1950s. Now, Venus is born from Jupiter, they said, from the feared god Jupiter, who runs the whole show, apparently. Now, his son was born out of that area there, and from heaven fell red dust, stones, and manna, as the Israelites guys escaped from Egypt. Now, they're in the desert, and they've got nothing to eat, and all of a sudden manna falls out of heaven, which is dried milk. Now, what would happen if somebody gave birth in space? Now, think about this. This all happened at the same time. Comet Venus was born. It's never there before. Look it up. It was never there, and it's a fact. It's recorded all around the world. It was seen as a fiery comet, and that's why it wrenched the Earth, and all that's recorded all over the place. Now, then what happened was the red blood from the afterbirth fell as red dust. Then the stones fell, which is the umbilical cord has extremely heavy mineralized. You know, it's almost stone, to be honest with you. It's flexible stone. And then the gelatinous, lactogenic, protein, milk-infused placenta, which is the only place I could think of milk coming out of space, fell as little flakes of atomized milk pellets, the size of coriander seeds, they said, and it was milk. And when it landed in the water, it turned to milk, and when it landed on the ground, it turned to honey if you left it out there in the sun. Now, that's just a fact. All these things are facts. I didn't make any of that up. It's recorded everywhere. And the Bible, I'm telling you, is fact. This happened. This happened. And now, I found a dragon. You saw the dragon. Now, there's a lot more to this dragon. His head had 7 crowns on his heads. So guess what happened today? My buddy Pete Irwell sent me something, and I'll show you that in a second. Now, Pete sent me this today, and he says, look at this. I think it's a snake's head. It's the mouth of a snake. And I started looking at it, and it is. There's the tooth. There's the outline of the jaw. There's the throat. All of this. Now, I'll show you a snake's head, and you see if you can't see it. It's identical. Hold on a second. All right, here's what I want you to focus on very carefully. You see the architecture of that fang? You see this little flap around the edge here? And it has like a hypodermic. There's got to be a hole on the end here to poke into the guy and shoot the juice into him. Now, you see that they're the same on both sides, obviously. Now, you see this on both sides. You see the little tiny hole at the top here going down in his throat, or how the flap covers it, and how his throat is there, and how the whole thing is wide open, and there's like a flare around the edges. Now, I'm going to show you the other one. Okay, Pete sent it, and he says, I think one of the teeth are broken, and the other tooth is there, and that is the mouth of a gigantic snake. And I looked at it, and at first I thought, I don't know. But then I looked at it closer, and to me, there's no question. Now, look at that top tooth there, and then we're going to look at the symmetry of that, and what we saw, and what would have happened if the tooth broke away. So let's take a look at this really close. All right, there is the actual tooth, and if you can see at the very end, it's got an actual split on there where it injects. This is that flap that was surrounded that other tooth. It was in the snake's mouth. Now, you see that? That's just not natural. That just didn't happen by accident. Now, here's the place where you want to look carefully. Symmetrically, this is identical. Look, it goes up, this where the tooth was. It comes around, it goes up here. Now, if you broke this and moved it over to here and laid it on there, you would have the identical same architecture. Look where it goes up here. You see this? It's just broke, and that happens a lot with snakes when they bite something. Now, this is, again, whoops, let me back out of here. Let's come down here a little more on his throat. Look at this. Now, it's obviously a different type of tissue, and that's the way bodies are in the human body, or in any kind of creature, I'm sure. You have different layers of tissue, and that's just the way it works. Now, that's just, look at it. And look over here, the same features. Now, there's his throat. That's where the whole of his throat was. You see this little tiny thing? Hold on, I gotta get that. Well, I can't get it out of there, so you just have to use your imagination. There's a little tiny hole right up in there. And that is, I don't know what it is, to be honest with you, but it's a little tiny hole there. Now, if you look back at this thing, you got a flare over here, like, you know, that the jaw was going like this. It comes back this way. And then you got all these guys over here. You say, well, what is this? They look very similar. There's a similar situation going on here. Now, that's just not normal. That's not... You see that around your house? I don't see it around my house. Now, let's take this situation here. Now, we've got this lump and this lump and that lump and that lump and that lump. And then guess, you know, I found out, guess where they are? They're right on top of my dragon's head. You see that? There's a dragon. They're right up here, right on his back. Now, I don't know how far these heads trailed off of that dragon, but you saw what it said in Revelations 12. It said something about a dragon with a whole bunch of heads. You know, is it? What can I say? I mean, who knew those Chinese guys were so exactly accurate? Look, here's his mouth. Oh, there's all the goops flowing out. Here's a little fuzzy stuff around his lip. There's the fluty things that go down his neck. And you see them everywhere. Now, let's dig in here and look and see how obvious this is. Look at that. This is his throat going back. Now, I think there's two throats here. One of them shoots out the nasty stuff, and one of them is where he eats through. But anyway, let's go back through his throat. Look at that. It goes all the way down. And look, those are the dragon scales. Trust me, I know dragon scales when I see them. Those are dragon scales, man. There's nobody in the world going to convince me that that is natural. Look at them. There's, you know, come on. Now, so it goes back down here, zip, 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 all the way down And again, there's no question what we got here. So it goes down, 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 down through a big long neck he's got now. And there's all that flashy looking stuff that's on the side of him and all that fluty stuff. Now, and there's his dragon, the scale stuff all over. Now, there's his throat. And it keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. Now, I think this right down here is where it pinches off into his stomach. And there's some kind of gooey stuff in here pinches off, and the two of them mix together. There's a red one down here too. There's a red hot spot and a black hot spot. See, here's all this fluty stuff still. And anyway, it keeps going down and 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 down, oh, forever. You see this? We're way down here. And it's never stopped. And then it gets into this area where I don't know what's going on. It's all kind of his stomach things. Now, and the heads are up in this area. Now, then it goes back, and his legs and everything are down here. His whole body is here. And back here is his tail. And if you go down, the same thing is down here. There's nothing that isn't here that isn't correct. Here's just that's not, come on. Somebody got to wake up and realize what this is. And it goes down to the end. Look, here's all the fluty looking stuff, and it goes down and down and down and down and down, all the way to the end of his tail. And then it gets that flashy looking stuff at the end of his tail. Hold on, let me find that. Because it's way down there. This is where the flashy looking things are, right at the end of his tail. You know how they have all that looking crazy stuff that flash out. Very, very cool animal. I mean, I don't know if he's cool or not, but he's kind of interesting to look at. Now there it is, right there. I mean, come on. Who in the right mind is going to say that that's a natural thing? This is such a... It just fell into a place of a dragon that was recorded in history throughout the whole entire world, and it's half of Africa. I mean, not half. There's a lot of Africa. And all of this red stuff, you know, that's all blood from creatures. Australia is slaughtered with blood. Australia is a complete bloody mess, as we say. At night, it's destroyed. There's rock is nothing but a bloody heart. It's a heart. It's a gigantic heart. I have a video on that, and that's what the source of opals is because the transition metals in blood can bond to organic tissues in every single combination that they like, and they like a lot of different combinations. All right, this is Nature magazine, and it's reporting on this high molecular weight organic matter in the particles of 67P, the comet. Now, and you can read all about it, but nobody will talk to me about it. But the chemistry is undeniable that it's life, and I have the absolute evidence, and I'd like somebody to discuss it. So, if somebody can get a hold of somebody that would get a hold of me, I would get a hold of them. Here's the case. I've been saying for a long time, years, that these are organic, and that the meteors that fall through the space and hit the Earth are organic. They came from organic matter, absolutely. I can find the veins and arteries in them. There's no question whatsoever, and the structure is right there. So they have finally decided, okay, Comet 67P, 100% organic, no question about it. Now, so then it says that this solid carbonaceous material cannot be observed from Earth, so it has eluded unambiguous characterization. In other words, they had no clue about it. Now, many gaseous organic molecules have been observed. They come mostly from the sublimation of ices and so forth. Well, they come from water that sublimates along with the mineralization that's in with it. That's just obvious. It's not to ice, like some chunk of ice. This has nothing to do with ice, this comet. It is a piece of meat, case closed. Now listen, these ices could have been formed from material inherent from the interstellar medium that suffered little processing in the solar nebula. No, they're from life. They're bodily fluids. Now, here we report the in situ detection of solid organic matter in the dust particles emitted by Comet 67P. Solid organic matter. Chunks. The carbon in this organic material is bound in very large macromolecular compounds, chunks of meat. analogous to the insoluble organic matter found in the carbonaceous chondrite meteorites, which are also chunks of meat. The organic matter in meteorites might have formed in the interstellar medium. They go on to conclude all kinds of things that aren't right. So that's the case. This is just not right. It's from life, and they just won't allow that to be said, because it destroys everything that they've said about everything. And I'm going to show you the proof that will destroy it uno momento. Alright, I made this video a little while ago, and it hasn't drawn much attention, but it's absolutely a fact. So I'm just going to play it, and you can watch and see what you think. Hold on one second. Here we go. Alright, go get somebody, it's a medical person, they can tell you this is what this is. This is a tendon entasis, this round ball at the bottom. And then there's a bloody part that goes around it that keeps it from destroying the bone. Coming off of that is a stalk that's broken here, and they break it in abrupt transmission. And these are the blood vessels, the same as the blood vessels in this one. It broke off at the same transition point. It rises up here like bands, and it does on this one as well. You see the little things here, you see the little things here, you see the little things here, you see the little things here. They are identical. This is a mud fossil I have here in my shop, and I have it right here, and it's easily seen. See these rise up here? So I got the same thing coming on these. Now, this is a tendon entasis point, and that is, in the background, is comet 67P. I'll show you a little different shot. Alright, there's the structure right there. That's the structure of comet 67P, and that's the ends. This is, they run up the tendrils, run up here, and they run to a place called an abrupt transition, and I can show you that in my stuff. And it snaps right at that one point, and I'll show you my mud fossil here. That is exactly the same. We talked about an abrupt transition. There it is right there. That's where the tendon fibrils come up, and they meet up with this stuff right here, which is a gooey matrix. And that gooey matrix glues these straps together with the meat, which is the fiber that goes out, which is your see the red flesh. The red gooey. Pan over to that. There's two little pointers going on here. That's because I overlaid one on the other. But you see that's the gooey part. Now we're going into the flesh. That's literally flesh of a creature. It's petrified now. And you see there's a transition here. And now we go into so we had one transition, there's another transition. Now we go into the fibers of the actual flesh. And you see the white flakes in there? Well, those white flakes are minerals that continue to be the fibrous stuff. Now you see this? These little holes here? Those little holes are the blood that services it. You see this here? That is another abrupt transition. That transition is between the toughness of the fibers down here, and it breaks right here, and then there's another one right out here that breaks and has broken, and that leaves these little cylindrical places. You see that? It's as clear as it can be. All right, I'm not going to go any further with this, but I've got mud fossils to cover every single body part. I've got bones, I've got lungs, I've got hearts, I've got fingers and toes and burses and everything that you can come up with and think of. And I have them in a whole variety of conditions. I have them that were petrified in low pH. I have them petrified in high pH conditions. I have them petrified in clear water. I have them petrified in certain types of vanadium and things that cause blue colors and green colors, and this is what it is. That's where all the minerals come from. The earth was alive, and a lot of it is still alive, but it's dying quick if we don't do something. So, I'm not making this up. There's nothing I can't prove here. Nothing I can't prove. I have 3 DNA tests, 7 CAT scans, chemistry coming out of my ears. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing I have so much stuff. And no one will step into this reality. That's the key. That's all. I get frustrated. I don't mean to attack anybody, and I'm not attacking anybody. It's just that everybody seems to want to disregard the reality of the situation and attack me. So I think that, we should look at it together and just not fight. Can't we all just get along? Can't we all just get along? And by the way, Comet 67P is an Achilles tendon that is floating in space from the battles that happened after the dragon got thrown to Earth and all of the angels fought and slaughtered each other. And it is 100,000 times larger than my Achilles tendon, approximately, maybe a close 120, 110, 95, but maybe let's go with 100,000 times bigger. So, what does that tell you? Well, I don't know, the dragon is 900 miles long, so what does that tell you? I don't understand reality. And the reality of the situation was that the 12 titans that are said to be Gaia's offspring are the earth. They are the earth. And they are immortal. So that's all I can tell you. That's what it was said. Read Hesiod, Theogony, read Plato, read Solon, read all of those ancient guys. They were talking the truth. That was the truth. Not what you're hearing now. We are not right. And there is a God, and He's sent His Son, and He's not going to look favorably on what we've done to this earth and to each other, and just disregarding what He said. Just telling you, that's a fact. You can go in your own way and have a nice time, but I know the way I'm heading. Anyway, have a nice day. That's all I can say is all I can say. Come to Mudfossil University on YouTube. Learn about the reality of life. I mean, seriously, this is a big decision you have to make. This is real life. This is not just kidding around. Last word.